Hi everybody, it is that time again. Time for the pens that I inked up for the month of May. I hope you will grab a drink, something nice and sweet, and sit down with me while we talk pens and inks. So I do have to apologize in advance. I have an across the street neighbor who is playing a lot of really loud music right now. I've been waiting for several hours patiently for the music to stop, but it has not stopped. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go with it, and I'm really hoping that you can't hear it. It's the Memorial Day weekend. I'm guessing they're having a party, and I can't begrudge them of that now, can I? So I want to show you the pens that I inked up for this month, and I found my ink collection cards. Yay! These cards were a very generous gift to me from my benefactor, and I use them. I have categorized or cataloged all of my inks that I own in these cards. No samples, just the inks that I actually have bottles of. And I absolutely love these papers. So many come in the box, so many actually that I've shared some with other fountain pen people such as myself. So I'm really happy that there were so many that I was able to share. And so I am going to pull my ink cards out, and this actually, isn't this very swanky and fancy? This is the an Esterbrook pen Nook, and no, this is not mine. I actually brought home over the weekend a case full of pens from my work. I brought my boss's pens home to clean out because, bless her heart, she works hard, she's always working, and she never has time to take care of her pens. So because I am also a pen lover, I told her to just fill up a case and I would bring them home and clean them out, and that is what I did. And there's even a pen in here that I got to borrow from her and test out, which I will talk about as well. So this is a case that we sell at our shop as well, Anamoya. It's made by Esterbrook. It is really nice, very swanky, perfect for your desk. It's a little bit of an investment, but I feel like this is a case that will last years and years and years and years. I have one of these cases. I have the small 3-pin Nook, which was also a gift to me from my benefactor, and I really love it. When I'm doing a lot, I do a lot of journaling at my desk, and when I have all 3 of my Esterbrook's inked up, which lately you'll actually see when I do my pens that I inked, when I have them all inked up, they sit in this case on my desk unless I am leaving to go somewhere, in which case I will put them in my to-go travel case, and they go in my purse and I bring them everywhere with me. They're $200 pens, but they still go everywhere with me because I believe that pens are meant to be used. And my neighbor just turned the music up. Oh boy. I'm gonna still try to go through this. I'm gonna kind of keep my voice or my face as close to the speaker, the microphone, as possible, and hopefully I won't get hit with a copyright claim. All right, so I'm just gonna go through it and we're gonna do this together. So I've got my cards and here we go. So the first pen that I inked up this month is the same one. I inked up my 3 Esterbrooks all last month as well. Nothing has changed. They have all been inked up this month nonstop. So this is my, you know what, maybe it would be better to move this. Yeah, that way you can focus on the individual pen. So this was my Esterbrook Oktoberfest Camden, which you've already seen a video on. It is such a beautiful pen. It is my milk tea pen, which is what my 12-year-old daughter lovingly calls it. I've got natural light coming in the window right now, and you can see that it's just such a beautiful, beautiful pen. I absolutely love it. It feels amazing in the hand. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It writes like a dream, and I just really, really adore it. And the ink that I used, oh, I should have put these in order. The ink that I used was Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyugaki. Even though this ink is a little bit more red, like a little bit more orangey red than what you see in the pen itself, I still think it's an excellent combination, and I really, really enjoyed it. So much so that I inked this pen up twice this month. So I'm on my 7th fill of this pen since I first got it. And I don't see myself wanting to put this pen down and wash it out and put it in my case and away for quite some time. All right, so the next pen I inked up was my Esterbrook SD in Scarlet. This was my very first Esterbrook that I got from the shop that I work at, Anamoya. It has a beautiful, beautiful, juicy medium nib that writes like a dream. And this was, because it was my very first Esterbrook, it has a very special place in my heart. I absolutely love this pen, and my favorite ink to ink it with is Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. Even though this pen is more like a red and blue, in the right light, when you turn it in certain ways, you can see that there are some areas of the acrylic that kind of shine like a magenta color, like a beautiful blend of purple and pink magenta, and I just absolutely adore it with this ink. It's a perfect combination, and I am actually on my 2nd fill of Yamabudo in here for the month of May. So I will be carrying over my Esterbrook's and one other pen into the month of June. But so that was my 2nd pen that I inked up, and I wrote it dry, inked it up again, and I'm still going strong with it. All right, so the next pen that I inked up for the month of May was, no surprise here, my Esterbrook SD in Rainforest. This pen was a gift to me from my husband. It is very special to me, and I think it is just such a beautiful pen. And when I did my video on it, I found it really difficult to find other videos out on YouTube featuring the rainforest. And so it made me kind of think maybe it's not such a, you know, a highly sought after SD, which makes me very sad because this is such a beautiful pen. I really wish I could capture exactly how beautiful it is in this video, but I don't think, even with the light coming in from the window, oh, it's just absolutely amazing. I have a wonderful medium nib on it, and it writes so smoothly, writes like a dream. I absolutely love this pen, so much so that I inked it up twice, and I inked it up with, no surprise here, Kayo no Oto Kokiiro, which is Japanese for moss. And look at that combination. I mean, they're made for each other. I absolutely love this combination. Absolutely beautiful. And all of my Esterbrook's, these are all inks and pens that are just, to me, they are forever combinations. Let me grab my other ones out of here just because I love them and I want you to see how beautiful they all are together. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I have just really enjoyed Esterbrook's since I was first, since I got my first Esterbrook, which was, like I said, the Scarlet, which I got at Anamoya where I work. And it just kind of started this love affair that I have for Esterbrook's, particularly the Estes and now the Camden. I absolutely love these. These are 3 of my very favorite pens, and you will next see my absolute 100% favorite pen, which I inked up for this month. So no surprise to you here, my very favorite pen is my Pilot Custom 823 in amber. This was gifted to me by my benefactor. I know, she gave me so much. Like, you guys literally have no idea. I wish I could just say her name and scream out about her from the rooftops, but she wanted to remain anonymous. And so I know it's not just me. I'm not the only YouTuber that she has treated. So, but look at this. This is just, oh, this pen is perfection in a pen. You can find a bazillion different videos about the Pilot Custom 823 on YouTube. My personal video on this pen is coming up very soon, and I will talk more about it. And so I will save all my love for that pen till my video. But for this month, oh, and this is my second fill on this pen for the month as well. So the 4 pens that I've inked up twice in this month were my 3 Esterbrooks and my 823, which I'm on my second fill right now of Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. And this is the only ink that I put in this pen as well. Obviously, this is an amber, brown color of pen, but I just absolutely love the way it writes with Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. They just, to me, they are the absolute perfect combination. The medium nib, the shading of the ink, I just absolutely love it. And so this is my second fill of it for this month. And my 3 Esterbrooks and this pen will carry me over into June. The next pen that I inked up for the month of May was my Jin House Century 100 in green marble. And really, I inked this pen up to try and decide whether or not I want to keep this pen. And I've found that I actually don't. I'm ready to pass this pen along, and there's nothing wrong with it. It writes really well. It has a fine nib on it. But it's a really nice fine nib. There's a little bit of bounce to the nib, which is really fun. I think it's a beautiful pen. It writes well every time. It's great. I just find that it's not a pen that I reach for anymore. I have other pens that I enjoy more. So I feel like it's time to let this pen go. I did ink it up with KWZ Discovery Green, and I hope you can see the sheen on this ink since I'm kind of in the sunlight at the window. This is one of my favorite inks. I got it at Dromgoals about 2 years ago. I'm halfway done with the bottle, and this is the pen that I primarily used it in. But it's just such a gorgeous ink. There's so many facets to it. It has this teal color, and then it has the red sheen, and it's just a beautiful ink, and I really enjoy it. So I'm gonna have to find another pen to ink it up in. But that was my Jin House Century 100, which will be leaving my collection probably as soon as I've washed this out and let it dry. I will be listing it. The next pen I inked up for the month of May was my Ferris Wheel Press brush pen in Lord Evergreen that I also got from Anamoya when I first found Anamoya a year ago. It is a medium nib. As you can see from the patina, I've used this pen a lot, and it is in the gold-plated nib as well. To be honest, this isn't my favorite pen that I have. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like when I use it, I would prefer to post it because I like to post my pens, but of course you can't post this because of the threads in there being brass. They can scratch the painting, the coating of your pen. But I just feel like it's a bit too slender for my tastes. And that's really the only qualm that I have with it at all. Also just that I don't know, it's just, I like that I have this pen in my collection, and it's a special pen to me because it was the first pen that I got from Anna Moya, and so it will always be in my collection. But I had to just kind of force myself to pull it out of my pen case. Usually for work pens, I like to have a pen, one of each of the pens that we carry in our shop. I like to have them inked up in my pen case for work all the time so that I can give them to customers as testers. So I usually try to have this inked up. I may not always journal with it, but it usually is always inked up in my work pen case, along with Lamy Safari, Lamy Studio, one of my Esterbrook Estes, you know, those kinds of pens. There are a couple other pens that we sell in the shop that eventually I will get as well to have in there as well. But yeah, so I used the ink that I used for this pen this month. I do not have a sample card or a swatch for, because it was a sample that I got from work. It was Ferris Press Peppermint Drop. I've used Peppermint Drop in this pen before, and I found it was, you know, it was okay. It's a pretty decent match. But it just, for some reason this time when I used it, it just didn't kind of give me the feels. I wasn't enjoying it as much as I did the last time. So I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, that one was my Ferris Press brush pen in Lord Evergreen. The next pen I inked up for the month was my first of 3 Lamys. This is my Lamy Safari in Cozy Cream, and this is one of my favorite Lamys that I own. It is in a really nice medium nib, and medium nibs seem to be my favorite for Lamys. I just love how this pen kind of goes with anything and everything. I can put any color of ink in here, and I don't feel like I have to match it to something. Like some of my other pens, I feel like I need to match the color of the pen to the color of the ink. I like that I can put any ink in this pen. My problem was, I don't know if you can see here, like along the edge there, the ink that I chose to use in it this month actually stained my pen a little bit, and I had to use soft scrub on it to get the staining out. And that ink was the Atramentis Document Green. I find that I really don't enjoy this ink as much as I thought I would. I always seem to get nib creep with it, and it stains the converters of every single pen that I've used it in. So I think I will be passing this ink along as well to, I'm probably going to bring in some inks and pens into work, and pretty soon we do something called Fountain Pen Friday, and so the first Friday of every month we have people who have bought their fountain pens or have other fountain pens of theirs, bring them into the store, and I will clean them out for them and try to do, you know, some light maintenance to the pens. And we also kind of do a little swap. We're hoping to do like little swaps. So we will bring in inks and maybe pens that we don't use and see if we can swap them out. And so that could be a lot of fun. And I think that this is one of the inks that I will probably bring in to be a swap ink. I think maybe somebody else could probably get more luck from it and more enjoyment from it. And so I would rather that ink go to somebody else who will enjoy it more. But that was my Lamy Safari in Cozy Cream. My next pen that I used in my lineup for the month of May was my Charcoal Lamy Safari. And this is also one of my pens that I really enjoy because I don't have to match this pen to a certain ink. I don't have any black inks. I do have gray, but I like that I can use any ink in this pen and I feel like it's a match. Doesn't matter what it is. I do not have a swatch card for the ink that I use because it was another sample from work. This has a fine nib on it, and I inked this up with Ferris Press Down the Don Valley. And you know, I actually really hate that ink. Oh my gosh, do I hate that ink. It reminds me of Easter grass. Oh, I absolutely did not enjoy that ink. I did finish the converter though, because I try to always, even when I don't like a pen, even when I don't like a pen or I don't like the ink, I try to completely finish out the converter because I don't want to waste the ink. and oh my gosh, it was like pulling teeth to get me to finish that converter ink, but I did. And that is not an ink I will ever be purchasing or ever sampling again. Like I said, it just looked like Easter grass, and blech, I just really didn't like it. But anyway, that was my Lamy Safari in charcoal. So the next pen that I inked up for the month of May was my Lamy Safari in mint. And I really like this Lamy as well. I have a fine nib on it, but it is a very juicy, very wet, fine nib. I started out the month with a broad nib on here with this ink that I have in it, and I found that this ink combined with the broad nib, I really didn't like it. So I had an extra fine nib, and so I put the fine nib on, and I found that I really like the ink much better in a fine nib. And I do not have a swatch card for that ink either, because it was a sample. Actually, it wasn't even a sample. I just got a fill of it from my boss's collection of ink at work. And this is Wearingeul Mad Hatter. And I've tried this ink before, and in the pen that I originally had it in, I guess it just wasn't a good fit. And I was determined to try this ink again, and for some reason it just occurred to me, well, let me try it in my my mint Lamy. And I found that this is a combination with the ink and the pen that I'm actually really enjoying. And I may decide in the future to actually get a bottle of Wearingeul Mad Hatter. That's the only Wearingeul ink that I have any experience with at all. I found that it's a really nice shading ink, that it's a wet ink, and when I write with it, even in this fine nib, the ink feels very lubricated, and I haven't had any issues with it on Tomo River paper. And I'm also right now writing on 120 GSM Leuchtturm paper in my new journal, and it writes beautifully in both. So I've really enjoyed this combination for the month of May. So my last pen that I have inked up for the month of May, this is actually not my pen. It belongs to my boss, and it is the little mini necklace version of the Monteverde Ripma in olive. This came out a couple years ago. It has a Omniflex nib on it, and I myself cannot write with a flex nib at all, but I'm really glad that this nib, you don't have to try to, you don't have to flex the nib. It's fine. It's nice to write with on its own. I don't know, it's not on the nib itself, like it doesn't say medium or fine or whatever, but this writes like a medium to broad nib in my opinion. It's teeny tiny. It's about the size of a Kaweco Sport, obviously much more slim. It has a magnetic cap to it, which I really like, and you can put it on a necklace, which I find is really cool. I wear, when I'm at work, I usually wear a pin around my neck on either this leather pen sleeve that I made. I wear it around my neck to use at work, or I wear my Traveler's Company necklace around my neck at work. And so I kind of have a thing for pins I can wear around my neck at work. But as I was cleaning out my boss's pens this weekend, I asked her if I could borrow this and test it out. And she said, of course. And so I inked this up yesterday with this in this little teeny tiny converter. Isn't that the cutest little teeny tiny converter ever? I think this is around the same size as the Kaweco converter. But I inked this up, and I've written 5 pages with it, and I'm already out of ink. So it's a fun little pen to write with, and the ink that I used was the ink that comes with this pen if you buy this set. It is Monteverde Olivine, and I really like this ink. Now, it reminds me of Noodler's Shivago or Sailor Tokiwamatsu. but I really, really like it. I think it matches this pen perfectly. That's probably why they came together. But I've really enjoyed borrowing this pen from Jess. I even looked online to see if I could buy this pen, and no, you can't. The set is not really sold anymore. Back when this was being sold, I had it in my Amazon cart for the longest time, and I wanted to get it, but I had never experienced a Monteverde pen before, and I didn't know if I would enjoy one, and so I never pulled the trigger. And because she had these available for me to try, now I've realized that Monteverde might be a pen brand that I need to investigate a little bit more, because I have really enjoyed this little tiny pen here. And so that is the completion of all the pens that I inked up this month. So here they are, each one of them. Now, please remember that I inked up my Oktoberfest, my Scarlet, my Rainforest, and my 823 twice. So that's like inking up 4 new pens. So this month I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 pens. So that seems to kind of be about my average for the month of with journaling and using my pens and writing them dry. That seems about right for me. So with all that to say, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I thank you so much for watching. I wish you awesomeness and greatness, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.